thus meaning this ironclad object was 1/4 of Merrimac's size. This is the famous monitor made by a Swedish engineer known as John Ericsson, who works for the Union Army, who actually designed the ironclads for the Unions. The fight between the two ships began at once. It lasted for hours on end. The Monitor's commander was very wounded, and the Merrimac, well, was just badly damaged, and it steamed back to Norfolk. The fight between the Merrimac and the Monitor was one of the most important naval battles ever fought, for it made all old Navy ships and strategies and stuff useless. All countries had been disregarded as a result of this epic battle, all their wooden vessels, thus training them out for building more ironclads, thus making an industrial revolution, which thus enhanced weapons for naval use. During the Civil War, the Union was able to build more ships, more ironclads anyway, faster than the Confederacy could, which gave them a huge advantage later on for more naval battles yet to come. In other words, another battle, known as the Battle of Shiloh, had taken place on a Sunday morning on April 6, 1862, same year as the Second Battle of Bull Run. General U.S. Grant sat on the Pittsburgh Landing, having a nice bed and breakfast in bed, same as his Union troops, not far off near a church known as Shiloh Church, having breakfast just as well, where all of a sudden, coming rushing out of the woods, the Confederate Army started to attacking bands of troops, ending them rushing from their camps, because all that was heard by General U.S. Grant was firecrackers, boom, 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 rifles everywhere blasting, roaring of horrible guns. All day the battle raged on, and terrible losses were made. Practically no control could be exercised over the commander's troops. But by nightfall, all that would change. For having been driven almost the Tennessee River, the tides were about to change and go in the favor of the Union Army. For General Bulwell arrived with 25,000 Union troops, and Johnston of the Confederates died of a wounded and had suffered during this attack. It was overwhelming for him. Due to the reinforcements, the Union Army was able to win the Battle of Shiloh. It was the second greatest battle fought within the whole struggle of the war. But due to his losses of troops, Grant was looked down upon. But President Lincoln refused to remove him, and Grant soon was justified by the president's faith. The Confederates, on the other hand, almost heavily missed their chance to break up the Union advance to the west. Another battle has just come in, the Battle of Antietam. It was fought for weeks in tides of the Civil War, being in favor of the Confederacy side. But this was the most horrific battle, even if it was in favor of the Confederacy. For both sides, this is the most horrific and bloodiest battle within the whole Civil War. It was terrifying. No decisive results were obtained from the fierce conflict that day. On the next day, however, though, Lee felt it was wise to withdraw his forces from the field. Thus, victory seemed to be left to McLean, who was leader of the Union Army, whereas Lee was leader of the Confederacy. Lee had obtained no aid from Maryland as he thought he would, whereas McLean's Union Army had obtained plenty of aid and reinforcements just as they wanted, thus giving them a huge advantage, helping them to win the Battle of Antietam. Nevertheless, the people of the North were encouraged, and Lincoln had an opportunity to issue his Emancipation Proclamation, which we will talk about later on. For these two reasons, The Battle of Antietam was one of the most important battles of the Civil War. On another word, a campaign that happened for Vicksburg was a primary objective for the Union forces in the Civil War, for it was what cut off the Confederacy in the two winning control of the Mississippi River, which was a huge territory that wanted to be occupied within the battle. And due to this campaign of Vicksburg, the Confederacy was divided. Thus, as earlier in the Battle of Bull Run, where Thomas's blockade plan had failed, not killing them from the inside out. Thus, now that the Confederacy was divided, the Union had successfully drawn out their plan. They had divided the Confederacy from within, thus killing them from the inside out, just as planned. We will have more to come on post-war and outcome results of the Civil War after this commercial break.